Another year, we get older, hopefully wiser, but remembering the Creator at all times, and the creation that we're in, that we may continue to serve Him. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 1. Remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light, or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, and the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low. He shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Wherever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge, yea, he gave good heed, and sought out, set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the master of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books, there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So these 14 verses we read here, closing out the book of Ecclesiastes. Brother Donnie reads the latter part of it to us on a regular basis. Thankfully, we need to be reminded of it. But as we're looking at going into a new year, this morning I spoke to us about having more time for God, having a resolve to always draw closer to God. But as we think about time, it is tomorrow, it is just another day. And as the vanity of vanities, all is vanity, I want us to realize what really is important. What really is something to focus on. That we truly made of verse 13. Hear the conclusion of the whole matter, to fear God and keep his commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. This is why we're here. You know, what a better way to start, close a year out, start another year out, than to be together and assembling one another. You know, they say what you do the first day of the year is what you do all day. If you work, you're going to work. If you are sick, you be sick, you're going to play, whatever it may be. But let's start the year off every day, though, with a service to God, acknowledging time is going to keep rolling. Since God created heaven and earth, going back to Genesis chapter 1, since he's created heaven and earth, since he put the stars in the sky, since he started the whole earth spinning, you know, it hasn't stopped spinning. He backed it up a couple times, he paused it for a couple times, but he was in control of that. Man hasn't been able to just stop it. It's going to be cold the next few days, but we know it's going to be hot here in about 6-7 months. You know, it's just something that it's going to pattern. We're going through this next year is going to have patterns. We're going to go through very, very bad, emotional, distressing, trying times. We're going to go through times of peace and comfort and uplifting. We are going to go through them. Unfortunately, as Brother Mike calmly spoke, you know, it was maybe the reason I forgot our troubles, because I probably was the cause of it. You know, it's easy to forget your own problems. I have probably more problems than mine. You know, let's all humbly acknowledge our problems. And because as we all acknowledge our humble problems, we can show we can go on. We can get over anything. We can put the past in the past and we can go on. Because as Paul did say, I'm not going to read it because I trust we know it. Paul did say he knew one thing. One thing I know. What do you know? What's behind and reaching forward. What's behind is behind. Well, I'm reaching on. I've yet to apprehend, he said. He goes, I'm just reaching on. So again, us learn, as Paul said, we all are going to have problems. We're all going to have great times. Whether it was a bad time, whether it was a good time, we need to leave it in the past and press on for what's today going to be. Tomorrow, I pray, is going to be a beautiful day, spiritually speaking. But yet, today is where I'm living, and focus on the today. As we go to Ecclesiastes chapter 4, turn backwards a few pages. This new man, just as we acknowledge our observance of the calendar year, we're acknowledging the new year, acknowledging the new year consists of days, consists of the rotation of the earth as I've already commented upon. We acknowledge the Creator. Remember the Creator in the days of our youth. I believe each and every one of us here acknowledge that God created heaven and earth and all things. Well, just as He created heaven and earth and all things, He can just as easily create in me a new heart. He can create in me a heart of peace and of comfort. And He can create in me, He can put off the fleshly Jared that is hard to get along with, and He can create a spiritual Christ in me, because He dwells within me. I'll never be Christ other than I reflect Him. He influenced me. But as I allow Christ to live in me, then I can live peaceably. I can have a good year. As Romans 12 says, inasmuch as I think He live peaceably with all men. But in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, as we turn back to here, and in verse 24, excuse me, let me know. Ephesians. I can't read this morning. I don't know what I can do. Brother Bill said he had eye surgery. He has trouble. I just turned out the line. Can't read my own. It's not in my own handwriting. It's printed off by the computer. But it says EPHES, just as plain as day. And I guess that's Ephesians, isn't it? As Brother Mike has already read to us in Ephesians here. He read down to verse 16, was it, Mike? Let's pick up verse 17 and read into verse 24, what we get. So verse 17, to finish off this chapter, Brother Mike started reading for us. This I say therefore, and testify of the Lord, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feelings have given themselves over to lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness, but ye have not so learned Christ. If so be that ye have heard Him, have been taught by Him, as the truth is in Jesus, that you put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt in the deceitful lust, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, that you put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. But him that stole, steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking put away from you with all malice. And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. So here the example of this new man, verse 24 spoke of. Put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness to true holiness. God can create in us a new man. As we go into a new year, He can create in us a new attitude. He can create in us a new love. He can, if we allow Him, as verse 32 spoke of forgiveness, we can forgive one another through Christ. But we're going to have occasion, again, I'll bring up Mike since he brought it up first. I've given him occasion to forgive me, and I pray that he continues to do so. And each and every one of you, forgive me and forgive each other, that we may have the relationship we should with one another, that we may have this new man created in us, not just acknowledging a new year, but acknowledging the new man, the new creature that He has created within us, that we may be more minded like Christ, having the same mind, the same care one for another. If I read this right, we're supposed to go to 1 Peter 1 next. As we go over here, passing our time here on this earth, and soul journey, realizing that this is a temporal experience that we are here. This is not going to last forever. So I know I'm going to die. Creation is not going to last forever. This is a temporal experience that Christ, that God has created, that there is going to be a new heaven and a new earth coming. And man here is just living for God now, showing that we want to live for Him eternally. And in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober. Hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance, but as He which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. Now verse 17, and if ye call the Father, who without respect of persons judgeth according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, the silver and gold from your vain conversation, received by tradition from your fathers, but without the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by Him to believe in God, that raised Him up from the dead, and gave Him glory, that your faith and hope might be in God, seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit, and unfeigned love of the brethren, so that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently, being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of God which liveth and abideth forever. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man is the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Lord endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you, and believers are lively stones, as we read in the next chapter. But in this, pass your time, verse 17, of your sojourning here in fear, acknowledge, although we're rolling into 2018, we're still just sojourning here because this world's not our home. We're just a passing through, amen? We're striving and pointing and serving so that we may spend eternity with Him. This is not what it's all about. Say, well, what's the point? What's the meaning? Well, we already read that, as Brother Don likes to point out to us. Fear God and keep His commandments. That's what it's about. What's the new year going to bring? I don't know. It's going to bring a lot of bad times. It's going to bring a lot of good times. It's going to bring a lot of time to be united in love and help one another. It's going to be times of, again, it's going to be, we don't know, but one thing we better know for a fact is that Christ is going to be with us through the whole thing. Amen? He's going to be there to create in us a new man, that we may live for Him, that we may pass our sojourning here with Him. Close Revelations chapter 10. As a reminder of, as we put to rest 2017, there is going to be a time when God puts to rest all time. When time will cease. Time will be no longer. No longer will we be counting years. We make it into eternity, and I pray we all strive to do so, and we will as we rely upon Christ. We're not going to keep track of how many years we've been in heaven, because it's just going to go on and on eternal. Again, we're not going to keep track of time as we do now. Time will cease. Revelation chapter 10, verse 5, the angel which I saw stand upon the seal. See, upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by Him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as He hath declared to His servants, the prophet. He goes on His instructions to eat the little book, and goes on to witnesses, and Revelations continues, but then it ends And you do read the very end of the book, it ends with his people living eternally with him. But time will cease. We're going to at some point stop tracking time. But we better be created a new heaven, new earth in our hearts today, that we are a new man today, living for God today, not reacting the way the flesh can, because which one of us can say that our flesh reacts the way it should? My flesh definitely doesn't. I need a new creature created in me. And I trust we all do. Prayer first for song this evening. As we close the service, and as we have a fellowship time afterwards to acknowledge